Hello everyone. My name is Pooty. Today we'll discuss about the vulnerability assessment report. Before that, we'll discuss about the environment which we set up for DVWA setup. And to set up this, we have installed Metasploitable 2 in our virtual box, and simultaneously we had Kali Linux, and we have typed ifconfig and taken the IP address from Metasploitable 2 as an attack vector and and we use this IP address to open DVWA. And this is the DVWA vulnerable web app which we used for vulnerability scanning. And then we used Zap, which is a tool. It's a Zap is a OWASP tool, which is used for the attack proxy vulnerabilities in web application by intercepting and analyzing HTTP or HTTPS TS traffic and conducted automated scans. It helps to detect issues like SQL injection or cross-site scripting or hidden file disclosure, any misconfiguration through active and passive reconnaissance. This is how in Kali, first we took the update and then we installed the Zap proxy. Once the Zap proxy got installed, we have to open the Zap through file in Kali Linux, and you will get the screen like this, that welcome to Zap. And then this is a symbol to do the automated scan. And once you click on that, this page will get opened where you have to type the URL of the DVWA application, where you can see over here like this link. You have to take it and then you have to type it to get the URL, and you have to click on attack. This is how the attack will get started, and now we'll discuss about any one or two vulnerability in more detailed manner. Now let's begin with the cross-site scripting vulnerability which we have achieved. But before that, these are the discovered vulnerabilities which we got it. That is remote code execution, source code execution, absence of anti-CSRF tokens, and hidden file found and direct browsing. Today we'll discuss about these two things. The first one is CSRF tokens, the absence of CSRF tokens. Um, this vulnerability occurs when an attacker tricks an authenticated user into performing unwanted actions on a website without their knowledge. In DVWA, we discovered that forms lack anti-CSRF tokens, making the application vulnerable to such attacks. You can see in this screenshot that there are absence of anti-CSRF tokens. And now how the CSRF works is, if a logged in user visits a malicious site, an attacker can exploit their session to make unauthorized changes, such as updating account or settings or any performance transaction. And now we'll discuss about the recommendation for the cross-site scripting request forgery. And here, implement anti-CSRF tokens in all forms performing state change actions. These unique tokens validate requests, preventing forgery. Additionally, secure session handling practices like HTTP only and secure cookies are essential to safeguard user sessions. And now we'll talk about the dread analysis, which we have done for the vulnerability one, that is cross-site request forgery. And using this dread model, we assess the risk of CSRF by evaluating five factors: damage, reproducibility, exploitability, affected users, and discoverability. And here, damage potential, that is medium, is 4, while it does not cause immediate data loss or full system compromise, but it can lead to unauthorized transaction or account changes. Next is reproducibility, and it is high. Once identified, attackers can reuse the exploit easily. And the next is exploitability, which is medium, 4. Launching a CSRF attack requires only basic web application knowledge. And the next is affected users. We gave this as high because all authenticated users are at risk without anti-CSRF protection. And the next is discoverability. We gave this as medium, 4. Manually testing or automated tools can detect the lack of anti-CSRF tokens. So the overall dread score is 4.2, uh, indicating a moderate risk that requires a prompt attention. And addressing the CSRF ensures greater protection for authenticated users and minimize the risk of unauthorized actions. And the next will be continued by my partner Srishti.
Thank you, Spurti, for explaining the CSRF vulnerability. My name is Srusti, and now I will discuss the another critical vulnerability we identified during our assessment, that is sensitive file disclosure. This vulnerability is particularly dangerous because it exposes the sensitive server files such as configuration file, which attacker can exploit to gain the valuable information and escalate their attacks. During our assessment, we discovered that DVWA exposed sensitive file such as a configuration and credential file. This file often contain critical information including server detail or database credential, which attacker can use to compromise the server. For example, an attacker can use a tool like OWASP Zap or manually inspect the response header to identify hidden files. If such files are exposed, they can be exploited to gain the unauthorized access, escalate privileges, or compromise the data integrity. Now I will discuss the recommendation for the mitigating sensitive file disclosure. for restriction for restricting uh, access users use server side controller like .htaccess to block the public access to sensitive file. For securing file permission, ensure only authorized user can access the critical files. For proper server configuration, avoid exposing unnecessary file or directions. These measures can significantly reduce the risk of sensitive file disclosure. Now, let's take a look at how we can assess the severity of this vulnerability. We applied the dread risk assessment model, which evaluate the five factors: uh, damage potential, reproducibility, exploitability, affected user, and discoverability. So first is a damage potential. It's high. Exposing sensitive file can lead to server compromise or privilege escalation. Second is reproducibility. It's moderate. Once discovered, file can be accessed repeatedly. Third is exploitability. It's high. Tools like Zap make exploitation straightforward. Fourth is affected user. It's high. All server user, especially administrator, are at the risk. And fifth is discoverability. It's moderate. Tools like Zap simplify file discovery. This gives a dread score of 4.6. This is a high risk vulnerability that demands immediate attention. In conclusion, sensitive file disclosure is a critical vulnerability that exposes sensitive server file to potential attackers. By securing file access and improving server configuration, we can mitigate this risk. Using the dread model, we have determined this is a high risk issue, underscoring the need for the immediate action. Thank you.